Hello, St. Anne Parish, and welcome to this week's Quick Things, which is an important conversation, just in the light of what we've done, but also as we anticipate the possibility of some future efforts on the part of our parish. But first of all, a few important announcements. Share Sunday, as always, will be the first two Sundays of September. This month, or in September, we will be gathering items for the neighbor's place. Not a lot of canned goods and things like that. So please be attentive to the list in the Quick Things email, as well as in the worship aid, mainly baby supplies, diapers, things like that, some laundry soap, paper products. So be attentive to that list. We also want to maybe encourage people to identify, you may have someone in your family, someone you know who might be interested in becoming Catholic, or even in learning more about Jesus and becoming a Christian. And Leanne Lilla, our co-director of disciple formation, would be glad to talk with you or to talk with that person as to how we might proceed to make that happen. And this is a good time to kind of get those kinds of things on track. So if you can be thinking about that, I think that's where it starts, is in our kind of wondering, who might those people be that we would invite to faith and to learn more about the way of Jesus and discipleship. Our community meals, this is a monthly thing that we do where we serve. We're part of a larger community effort. The meals are served on, I think it's Thursdays at St. Matthew Church. And we will be doing it once a month beginning September 15th. But we need people to make that happen, helping to plan and prepare meals, bringing desserts. There's more information in the email as well as in the worship aid, and probably worthy of a conversation in the next few weeks. There will be a fall book club, reading the book Eucharist by Bishop Bob Barron. It coincides with the beginning of a kind of an effort on the part of the U.S. bishops to revive, not an awareness of, hopefully we're always aware of the Eucharist, but a deeper commitment to maybe our understanding of the Eucharist and our living as a Eucharistic people. So that book club will be on Zoom beginning September 20th, but now, at least for me, would be the time to start reading the book so as to be ready for the discussion on September 20th. There again is more information in the email and in the worship aid. And then finally, in terms of our announcements, registration is continuing for Forming Young Disciples, and which will begin in mid-September. And then also the ongoing call for people to discern whether you might assist in that program as a catechist or as an aide in our Wednesday night program for grades K to 10. Again, in the email and in the worship aid and the website is a lot more information to help you in that pursuit. The final announcement will come at the end of our conversation, or more towards the end of the conversation. And it has to do with Wausau's ongoing effort, on the part of ongoing effort to bring new and more refugees to the Wausau area. So the worldwide refugee situation is not at all limited to Afghan refugees, such as those who joined us this past year. There are millions of refugees around the world, and there are agencies in the United States and in other countries helping to find permanent homes for these refugees, some of them who live in refugee camps for years. They basically, that becomes their home, but it is not a home. And so there's a constant effort to find homes, more permanent, appropriate settings for refugees. And so we'll talk more about that at the end of this conversation. But first, I wanted to talk about our St. Anne's experience, our current Wausau experience of welcoming new neighbors and the Afghan refugees who we at St. Anne's and others in the community have helped to welcome over the past year. And so joining me for that conversation are Christine Daniels and Joan Kleist, who are part of the core group for our one of our two Afghan families who joined us. What was it? Do you remember the day? Was it August 29th, August 28th, something like that? Do you remember?
I believe it was December 28th. And actually today, yesterday was August 28th, and our official 9-month commitment is over.
Right, and that's kind of what prompted this discussion too, Christine. Yeah. I'm actually at my mom and dad's house, and I was at my mom and dad's house when we got the text message saying they're arriving this afternoon. Now I think were they delayed a day at that point, or it was
I don't know,
also
it was all a blur, but everyone just jumped into action. It was really awesome
right,
just seeing, the people that could dip in. And I know Joan was one of them, and
sure.
Helen and Mary Lee.
Well, maybe we should begin by reintroducing the family. Who are they? And just if you could give us a little bio on the, like, you both know one of the families better, but a little bit on the second family as well. John, can you do that?
You want to go, Joan?
Sure. Well, our family that Christine and I are part of, Fazil is the husband and Shaw is his wife, and they have Wisal, who's their 8-year-old son, and Sabawoon, who is their 13-year-old son. So that's the family here. And unfortunately, they do have 2 other children, and they were not allowed to come because they were adults. They have an 18-year-old daughter, Fahima, and a 21-year-old son, Abdul, who are left behind in Afghanistan. And that is their struggle in their life here. Aside from that, though, they are settling in quite well. They've really become great friends of ours, and they're just like family. And so we continue to help them with life, but we also just love spending time with them, just as our friends. And you have anything to add about our family, Christine, at this point?
Other than that, Fazal gained employment through Great Lakes Cheese, and that was a huge hurdle. And then they also acquired, or he got a driver's license and a vehicle. And it seemed, at least from my perspective, that they became so independent at that moment that they got that vehicle. And he pretty much said, okay, all rides stop, and we're going to do this on our own, which, for us it's kind of like being a parent of kids, it's like you're raising them and you want them to have wings. And I felt like this family got wings at that point.
Well, that was a major commitment on the part of the core group, other parishioners who were kind of a team of drivers and stuff for all those months. And so that was a huge thing when they got a car and could take care of all those things themselves, huh? And also that was due to the generosity of various groups of people, individuals who helped to make that car purchase possible.
Yeah, he does love his car. He is so proud of his car. He keeps it very clean, and just really takes good care of it.
What kind of car is it, Joan?
Oh geez, Nissan. It's a Nissan.
Okay. And now he's kind of the driver for his co-workers at the cheese factory, right?
He was for a bit. He helped him out. He doesn't do that any longer. That was for about a month or maybe 5 weeks, but he doesn't do that anymore. But yeah, it was a big accomplishment for him. He knew how to drive. He drove for 20 years, but in Afghanistan, there's no speed limits, and there are no lines on the roads, and there are no stop and go lights. And so the very first time that John took him out driving, he'd get on Highway 51, and before John knew it, he's going 75 miles an hour. And he's like, oh, no, not that fast. So those were parts that we really had to work with him, road signs and things like that. But he got there. So,
but your husband, John, did all of those driving hours with him, right?
Yeah, I actually studied with him to get the temps. That was the easy part. And then when it came to actually driving, I said, John, this is you. I don't think that I want to do this one. So that's how we shared that one.
And not to disparage Afghanistan, the absence of speed limits or lines on the road or rules of driving, those don't exist in lots of other countries. So it's quite an experience to go on rides in places like Haiti or Guatemala or lots of places in Mexico even too. So, as well as in Afghanistan and I'm sure Pakistan and India, and exciting places to live. So, you mentioned the family back in Afghanistan, Joan, and I know that our folks are in contact. You say daily with their family in Afghanistan?
Yeah. Fazil has one brother that is in the United States, down in Texas, But he has two brothers that they didn't make it out either. They were on the long road to make it, and it was cut off by the time they got there. So their family lives together in their house. So it's the two brothers. One of the brothers has his own family, and then it's their son and daughter. And then Fazl's mother actually is still living, and they all live together. So
Okay.
that's,
Yeah.
like I said, that's the hardship. That's the hard part. Hopefully someday their goal obviously is to be able to get them out and get them to the US safely.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned that we didn't talk much about the kids. Christine, you want to talk a little bit about them and what's going on with those guys?
Sure. So Wissal is 8 and I have a son who's 7. So it kind of was a really cool fit to be able just to have like little play dates. Sometimes there were some emergency appointments that needed to happen with the adults. And so I'd bring the boys to my house or go down to WOW on the playground and buy ice cream. Once I took the boys, so Saboon is 13 and he definitely came with the best English. And after having one semester in 7th grade, his English is pretty phenomenal under the circumstances. So he is the main communicator for the parents still, which kind of puts you in a sometimes difficult position. So at this point, when I text them, I text Fazal and Saboon together to make sure the dad knows that a communication has occurred, but usually he has Saboon make the response to me. At least that's been my experience. I'm not sure what Joan, is experiencing with that. I took them with my own children to the trampoline park once, and it was interesting because Shah, the mother, was so very nervous of losing sight of her children. She keeps her eye on those kids, and if she can't physically see them, we found that we had to get up and move. She's just very fearful of losing those children, which is understandable. It's very sad, but it's understandable. But I did see Saboon do this huge 13-year-old fit because he wanted to do the virtual reality thing at the trampoline park. And I said no, and mom said no. And it was so, I know.
You're no
We're
fun.
no fun. I know, that's what I felt like. But it was so refreshing to see him throw a fit, because that's what 13-year-olds do. I had taken Saboon and his dad to the open house at Horace Mann. So he's going into 8th grade this year. And they have a wonderful student aide who has really just been Saboon's cheerleader ever since he first came. And this gentleman, his first name is Eric. He's been to Afghanistan and he has a lot of artifacts from Afghanistan. And he had a flag behind his desk, and that was one of our last stops, was going into his room. And he had some different stones from Afghanistan sitting on his desk, and a certain kind of hat, which made the dad smile so much. But the dad went behind the desk and he reached and he grabbed the flag and he just closed his eyes and kissed it. And I guess I realized in that moment of just, there's so much pain involved in what this family is going through. They love Afghanistan. They love their home country. They don't want to be gone, but this is the reality of their situation. So Eric did leave the family with a small Afghanistan flag, which, Fazal was just like, thank you, and gesturing so much. He was just so grateful for that.
Yeah, you're right. We think, oh, this is the United States of America. This is where everyone would want to be. Well, this is not their country, and they did not choose to leave Afghanistan. I mean, just circumstances gave them no options. So it's important to remember that while it's important, what you're all doing is important in terms of welcoming them. We also want to remember that this isn't something they chose to be here, and all the refugees who hopefully might be following them, just because we need a place for refugees. This would not be their choice. They want to be back in their country, So that's a good reminder to have. So they're set for school, in other words.
They are. Wissal is going tonight. Actually, a volunteer is picking them up because dad is at work. So in the evenings when, some transportation has to happen, it does.
Sure.
So he's going to be getting a backpack full of supplies and meeting his new teacher, and then getting reacquainted with his ESL teacher who was with him last year.
Cool. Well, prior to the start of school, however, we want to have fun in the summer. And Joan, your husband, John, had a great outing. Did the whole family go fishing, or tell us about their fishing adventure?
Yeah, well, to back up a little bit, one day we all went out in our boat. We took them on the Wausau Lake, and they had never been on a boat before. There are no like rivers and lakes in Afghanistan. They always tell me just mountains. So we took them in the boat, and they absolutely loved it. They wanted to go fast, and they wanted to go all day. They would have went, I think, into the night if we could have. Of course, the kids seen people tubing and water skiing, and they immediately wanted to do that. I said, well, in time we'll do that, but you need to get a little bit of experience with swimming and actually being immersed in water, because you'll probably fall off. So that's probably next summer. But then we got to talking about fishing, and they were very interested in fishing. They like to eat fish, but they had never been fishing. So John said, well, then next time we'll go fishing. So the day we went, all of us went, the whole family and John and I, and it was very windy. And we thought, let's start by taking them fishing from shore, because first time casting, we didn't think 6 people in a boat, it would, be very safe. So we took them fishing, and even the boys, they would not touch the worms. They're, ick. And, we had minnows, we had worms, and they wouldn't touch anything. So in time, though, they started playing with the minnows and got to like them. And then they did touch the worms. And so John taught them how to put it on the hook and how to cast. And immediately the boys cast wonderful, like they had done it for a long time. Shaw and Fazil didn't fish. They wanted to just watch. So we fished, and actually kayaks went by, and it was Sabawoon's teacher from last year, one of his teachers.
Seriously?
And really, and he recognized them, and he waved and yelled out, "Oh, you guys are fishing!" And Sabawoon's talking to him, and they were really having a good time. And then we moved a couple different spots, and the fish were jumping in the water. They were jumping out of the water, and so they immediately cast over where they'd seen a fish jump. And Wissal could not figure out why he couldn't catch that fish that just jumped. So it was really a fun day. And then John ended it by saying, I'm going to give you some fishing gear so that you guys can fish whenever you want. So he actually made up 2 poles, and we have a ton of fishing things because John fishes a lot. So he made a tackle box, and he put the basic starter kit together, gave them poles, gave them the tackle box, and told them now you can go fish whenever you want. So they were thrilled with that. And just to be by the water and be on grass and by trees, they really, really enjoyed that. That was a pretty special day for them.
For sure. Well, it sounds like it was a good day for you too, you and John. Right. Joan, it was a good day for you and John as well to do that. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. I can
Oh,
hear
Oh,
you.
absolutely. We had a ball.
Okay, good. We mentioned Basil and the boys. What about Shaw? What
Can you
does
hear
she
me?
do during the day? What does her day entail or consist of?
So Shah does suffer from some medical challenges. We, had tried encouraging them from the very beginning to take English classes. That seemed, at least at the time, to be very low priority. For Fazal, he wanted to get that driver's license, that independence, and for her, kind of hard to know where it's coming from. Like if it's from him saying, no, you will not do it, or if it's her saying, no, I don't want to do it. I still haven't figured that out. I'm not sure if Joan has. But we did, they were open to people coming into their home, because our largest concern was socialization for Shah, just being alone, especially when the boys are at school and then Fazal at work. So we have 3 different women coming. Oh, it looks like we lost Joan. 3 different women coming in on different days to spend time with Shaw and to do, you know, basic English. And she's catching on, and she's very excited about it too.
Cool, good, good.
Yeah.
So if someone goes into the home to work with her on.
Yes. Yep. So we have 2 members from St. Anne and 1 member from the UU Church, and
Okay.
they are all doing
Yeah.
that.
Oh, great, great. How is Fazl's English?
You know, it's slowly improving. We're really encouraging him to go to NTC.
Yeah.
And actually after this this Zoom meeting, I have to call NTC to kind of follow up on what that might look like.
Okay.
Because he gets the kids on the bus, and so the timing isn't necessarily
Right.
wonderful. But
So we mentioned at the outset that, or you mentioned that the 9-month commitment ends this week. So what happens now, Christine? Everyone just walks away and.
no, it's impossible to walk away. You know, I love them. Like, I'm on their emergency contact for school, and I'm kind of like Auntie Christine when, you know, there's a need in terms of school. Yeah, they've become family in so many ways to me, and we've shared meals together. You know, it officially ends on paper, but there will be a lot of just communication and follow up. And us, if they need help, we'll, you know, try to figure out how to do that.
Sure, sure. Well, and I think if it's an honest, genuine relationship, it doesn't just end on a given day.
Right.
And the point of the 9 months is when ECDC, the settlement agency, establishes these connections with our parish. They want people to have they want people to make a commitment, and so you really want to know that there's an end date of some sort, and there is an end date of sorts. I mean, the relationship will continue, but as you've already indicated, so many of the responsibilities have already, you know, kind of passed away. They're kind of taking care of those things themselves. So that's the great, and that's really what it's about. You didn't want to be their caretaker, their protector forever.
Right. And ECDC made it very clear that that wasn't the point. You know, it's to help them become as independent as quickly as possible.
Exactly, exactly. So as I mentioned at the outset of our conversation, ECDC, this resettlement agency, will be bringing more refugee families to central Wisconsin. And so there's a new kind of urgency in recruiting organizations to help welcome and sponsor these new neighbors. And to that end, I'm going to have an informational meeting on Thursday, September 8th at 6:30 to talk about, just to get a sense of the refugee situation around the world. So we did this last fall, prior to the family arriving at the end of December. We had a lot of meetings to talk about the refugee situation, to discern whether we were ready to do this as a parish. And so basically we're starting that discernment process again, with hopefully, and that's part of the discernment, is to determine whether there's interest among parishioners. And we broadened the invitation to other Catholic parishes and stuff too. I mean, quite frankly, wouldn't it be great if we had a core group made up of people from all the parishes of the city of Wausau or something like that? It would be such a good collaborative effort. And even what we've just done now has included, in your group, it included members of the Unitarian Universalist Church. The other family was welcomed by some parishioners from our parish, but as well as from other faith communities too. So that meeting on September 8th will be the beginning to learn about the refugee situation and to begin discerning whether it's reasonable for us to welcome another refugee family. Not from Afghanistan, but as we'll learn at that meeting on September 8th, there are dozens of countries, or people who have fled dozens and dozens of countries because of civil unrest, famine, war, all kinds of things. And so we'll learn more about that at that meeting on September 8th. Joan, we missed you.
That's my limited internet out here
Sure.
at our home.
Anything? Could you just give us a little intro on the other Afghan family, the second family that our parishioners welcomed?
Sure. That family is Adib is the father and Karima is the mom. And then they have a son. I believe he's 7. them too, they had a little bit different situation. Karima used to work when she was in Afghanistan. And so she actually works. Both of them work at Great Lakes Cheese. Karima is part-time, but that's her choice. She wants to work. She is not a stay-at-home mom type of person. So, and the other thing is Adib speaks English and he speaks rather well. So that kind of made things a little different and easier for that family. But he also studied, got his license. He got a car. She does not drive, but they work it out between the two. Because they work different shifts at Great Lakes Cheese. So as far as that, they're about equal to Fazil and Shaw in that way, as far as job and car and stuff like that. So, and they do meet. Fazil and his family go to Oak Island Park a lot on weekends, and Adib and Karima go there as well. And so they'll get together and socialize while the boys rollerblade and ride scooters. So
do you know, is the Afghan community in Wausau kind of gelling a bit? Or can we say there's an Afghan community? You know, or have a sense of that?
I don't really have a sense of that.
I don't think so either. I think Fazil, his family, they know who they know. And so they like meet at a park or whatnot. He works with there's another household of 3 guys. They work all together. So, I mean, they socialize, but I don't think there's a sense of community-wide gatherings or anything.
Sure. And maybe in time, but on the other hand, I mean, they're all different with different backgrounds and interests and things too. So, I mean, they do have the common heritage. Anything that either of you would say to members of our parish who have not been involved thus far in welcoming these refugee families, these new neighbors, who might consider joining our discernment and discerning whether we bring in welcoming other refugee families?
Well, I just want to say, if you are thinking about it at all, like we were, go to the meetings, absolutely. And if you choose to join, I really encourage you to, because it really is rewarding. It's amazing. You can always, anytime, ask us for help or just a shoulder to lean on, or anything like that, if we can help in any way. And then one other thing I wanted to say to all the parishioners is to thank them very much for donating over these past months. Many parishioners have donated store cards and gift cards and gas cards and material things that we asked for, and just money, and it really helped them. And I just wish you could see them and meet them when we give that to them, because they truly from the heart appreciate it, and they really do. And they've mentioned a couple times Wausau is now home, so it means a lot to them.
Great. Christine, any final encouragement?
Wow, Joan did a great job. I guess the only thing I would add is if you feel even the tiniest tickle of the spirit, it's actually trying to tell you something, and I really encourage you to listen and follow.
That's good.
It's life-changing. It's a
tickle of the spirit.
It is.
That's good. So before we go, Christine, we want to let you go because, Christine, I know at least at your house, these are harried days with the start of school and things like that. Tell us, so you have 5 children or 6?
We have 4 at home and 4 one that's grown.
So 5, right. So 4 going off to school at different schools. So what is the secret to connecting all these dots and making it all happen so smoothly, as I'm sure it does every day?
Let's see, calling upon grandparents and friends for transportation help, and just taking it one day at a time. That's about all I can manage.
Kind of like welcoming refugee families in some
one day
ways.
At a time.
We call upon the people we need, and we take it one day at a time. So yes, please, good luck with everything that's going on in your house, Christine.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joan and Christine, and to all the others who have made such an important contribution to this project. And let the spirit tickle others to become part of future endeavors. Thank you both very much. Take care, everyone. Saint Anne, pray for us.